We are back in the black hole of real estate, and I was asked, when is the absolute best time to sell a home? This is your host, Ron Wysakarski, for the black hole of real estate, and actually the best time to sell a home, I typically would just say when you're ready to sell it. But there's some data that tells you that time is coming up soon. So the week before April 15th and after, so somewhere between the 10th, 12th, 13th, and maybe the 20th, somewhere in that range of April. So think of the week before and the week after April 15th. It's tax time. And it's absolutely the time of year when the largest percent of the people in the country that are home buyers have a pretty good financial picture, maybe the most crystal clear picture of their finances that they're going to have because they're just finishing up with their tax returns. So at this time, they have been through the process of understanding what their income level is. Did they pay taxes? Did they get a refund check? They're also going through any number of things, financially speaking, and also they're nearing, the end of school year, the beginning of school year for other things, and who's going to school, who's graduating, all the reasons that people tend to move. They're all at the forefront in April. So it's absolutely the most advantageous time if you're a home seller to get yourself on the market. Now, if you feel that's rushing things, that's okay. But most people, they don't wake up one day and say, I think I'll just sell this house. I'm sure it happens, but the vast majority of people, they plan. They plan around things like, I just mentioned, the school year, for instance. Tax time just happened. Do I need another write-off? Do I need to sell something? Is it time to move? And when we find that the audience, the buyers, are in tune financially, it increases the likelihood that the sellers are going to have lots of showings, several offers, and a choice of who to select as the buyer of their home. And when all of these things conspire together, home sellers can have a bit of an advantage. Now, it's not going to help a seller if they're overpriced, if their property is not in good condition, if it's unfortunately not in the best location, or maybe they have an agent or working on their own with ineffective marketing. But there is a lot of data, and you'll see if you just click in best time to sell a home, you're going to see a lot of data and a lot of articles pinpointing this time in the middle of April. So now that we know that is the best time of year to go on the market, what should we be thinking about if we're going to sell a home? Well, number one, the 3-4 things that I think matter. It's always going to be location. Let's just start there. That's baked in the cake. If you got a great location, that's easy. If you don't, well, then we need to compensate in other areas. So condition, always condition is in the control of the home seller. It's either immaculate and renovated or not. And it doesn't need to be 100% ready to go. You can sell it as is, and it may affect the sales price. But if you have to put in $20,000 to get $15,000 more, there's a diminishing return with regard to how much money you invest in the home to prepare it for the sale. So I would pay close attention to the market and the pricing involved to make a determination of how you're going to approach the readiness of your home for the market. The marketing, it's a huge piece. If you're an expert at marketing and a great photographer and you can run a drone, you can do it on your own. And if you are lacking in any one of those areas, that is a solid way to make an investment outside of your own blood, sweat, and tears and elbow grease. Those might be good investments for you to assist with the marketing, and having a marketing arm or a way to distribute to the masses, casting the widest possible net to get the most amount of buyers to look at the property and then get interested. That's the beginning, a building block, if you will, of your marketing strategy. The last thing, it's just pricing. if you're priced in the market, we've talked about this. You know, the list to sell ratio in the area that we serve, it's been very close to 100% a few years back, but now it's at 93%. That means if you go on the market at 100 grand, the expectation is it would sell at about 93,000. So somewhere between 90 and 95. You know, if you just multiply those numbers out, if you're at a $400,000 price point, you may be getting between 360 and 380. Let's just call it that. So when we are looking at those key metrics as it relates to marketing the property and selecting pricing and conditioning, timing is like the fifth Beatle. You know, it's not necessarily part of the main band, but now that you've got options, if you're thinking of going on the market April 1st or May 1st or June 1st, you know, I would at least give some consideration. Hey, what if we were, you know, April 8th, April 10th, 15th, 20th, 22nd, somewhere in that range? You know, don't take my word for it. Just Google it or, you know, search it out, and you'll find it. There's a lot of talk in the industry about this being a really, really good time to get yourself on the market. You know, we're getting to a time where there is less uncertainty. You know, we know who the president is. We've seen what the first 100 days look like, and we have an idea of what's coming next. We know the Fed held rates. We know that it's likely that there'll be a drop at some point in the next one or two cycles. That may help out buyers. But in the interim, you know, there's not as many properties on the market right now, although it's growing. Inventory is growing. I think as you see the rates come down, you see more people jump in to go on the market. So timing, not only is it the busiest time of the year historically, and it's documented, but it's also a time when there's less homes on the market than there might be in May, June, and July. So when you have the best of timing as far as activity, and yet you still have the benefit of less, you know, lower competition, it's an area where a seller could win. Now, I know, you know, you're listening to a sales guy talking, you know, on this podcast, but I would tell you that, you know, educate and inform. I do a lot of consulting work. I work with investors. You know, I've done about every angle of this, and the sales is just a tiny piece of it. I'm not advertising any sales today, and I'm not, you know, there's no button to click on. Get your free home value over here. You know, not on this podcast. You know how to find me another way. But the call to action is not from you to me to call to action and work with me. The call to action is to ask yourself, what would it look like if I went on the market in the middle of April, when it's the highest activity level, the most success I'm going to likely have all year, with lower competition barriers at a time when people are ready to move? We're seeing it right now. I believe that most buyers have stopped waiting for the rates to go down to 2 or 3%. I think they realize that's not going to happen, at least not this year. And delaying a move even further in the future, whether they're renting or in a house that just doesn't fit, too big, too small, or whatever. You see, there is a growing number of people that are ready to, despite all the evidence in front of them, they just want to move. They're going to move. And this is the opportunity for sellers right now. So not only is it timing-wise best time of the year to go on the market, there are a lot of leading indicators that I followed that also suggest that it's a great time to be going on the market. So I'd call it the force multiplier. When all the evidence is pointing towards people are going to be looking at homes to purchase in growing numbers. And then we look at the evidence that it's also a great time to sell. That force multiplier is an increase in your opportunity as a home seller to get the price and terms that you're looking for. So if you needed a nudge to take the next step, the bold step, to put your house on the market, I've given the information to you so that you could do with it as you wish. But you could research to the end of time, or you can just take this information and say, you know what, this really is a good time. And the things that are conspiring together can make it a really good opportunity for home sellers. And then you get to choose if it's the right time for you. This is your host, Ron Wysakarski, for the Black Hole of Real Estate.